Today, I invite you to explore a concept that might feel both foreign and intimately familiar at the same time, the idea of the winter arc. Winter is often perceived as a season of dormancy, of endings, of withdrawal from the vibrancy of life. Yet, if we examine it through a psychological lens, winter offers an unparalleled opportunity for self-mastery. It is a metaphor for those periods in life when the external world slows down, the distractions fade, and we are left alone with ourselves. In psychiatry, we often see that the most profound personal growth does not occur during periods of abundance or activity but during the quiet, reflective seasons of life. The winter arc, therefore, is not merely a poetic notion, it is a blueprint for restructuring the self. Let us begin by understanding why winter, or any deliberate period of inward focus, is essential for psychological development. Human beings are inherently busy, constantly moving between tasks, social obligations, and cognitive noise. Our minds rarely have the opportunity to pause, to integrate experiences, to reflect upon our behaviors, and to recalibrate our internal systems. In psychiatry, we know that the absence of reflection can lead to the accumulation of unresolved emotions, maladaptive habits, and a sense of disconnection from one's authentic self. Winter symbolizes a pause, a natural cessation that allows the internal world to catch up with the external. It is in this quiet that we can begin to observe ourselves without distortion, to map the patterns of our thoughts and feelings, and to recognize which aspects of our psyche require cultivation and which require release. This brings me to the first principle of the winter arc, emotional regulation and cognitive resilience. To master oneself, one must first learn to observe and manage emotions without judgment. In clinical practice, we frequently encounter individuals whose behaviors are hijacked by unprocessed emotions, anger, anxiety, guilt, or sadness. These emotions are not inherently negative, rather, their power lies in the way they influence our decision-making and perception. The winter arc encourages us to practice what psychologists call emotional mindfulness, the ability to recognize and experience emotions fully while maintaining a degree of detachment. When we can sit with discomfort, observe it, and understand its origin, we gain cognitive resilience. We become capable of responding thoughtfully rather than reacting impulsively. This, in essence, is the first pillar of self-mastery, understanding the mind's internal landscape and cultivating the ability to navigate it with clarity. Closely tied to emotional regulation is the concept of habit reconstruction and neuroplasticity. Winter is an ideal season to examine our routines, behaviors, and the underlying neural circuits that drive them. Neuroscience has shown that our brains are remarkably adaptable throughout life, capable of reorganizing themselves in response to experience. This capacity, known as neuroplasticity, allows us to break free from ingrained patterns that no longer serve us and to cultivate new, beneficial habits. During the winter arc, one can engage in a deliberate process of habit reconstruction. This begins with identifying behaviors that are incongruent with long-term goals or values, perhaps procrastination, excessive rumination, or avoidance, and replacing them with small, intentional actions. It is not the grand, dramatic changes that yield sustainable growth but the accumulation of incremental adjustments, repeated consistently. A winter of introspection, then, is a laboratory for the self, where the mind can experiment, fail, adjust, and ultimately reform in ways that align with one's true purpose. Another central component of the winter arc is self-reflection and identity alignment. Often, we live in ways that are reactive, shaped by external expectations, social pressures, or unconscious impulses. Psychiatry emphasizes the importance of understanding the gap between our actual behaviors and our core values. This gap is a source of internal conflict, stress, and a subtle but persistent sense of dissatisfaction. Winter offers the time and space to confront these discrepancies. Through reflective practices such as journaling, meditation, or structured self-inquiry, we can explore questions like, who am I beyond the roles I play? Which behaviors truly reflect my values? Where am I compromising my integrity, and why? By mapping our internal identity against our external actions, we can begin to close the gap. True self-mastery is not about perfection, it is about alignment, living in a way that feels authentic and intentional rather than reactive and fragmented. The final dimension of the winter arc is the conversion of insight into actionable, sustainable self-mastery. Reflection, emotional regulation, and habit reconstruction are all vital, but without a concrete framework for applying these insights, they remain abstract. In psychiatry, we encourage the development of structured, stepwise plans that integrate introspection with disciplined action. This could involve creating microgoals that reinforce adaptive habits, establishing routines that honor both productivity and restorative rest, or designing strategies for stress management and emotional recalibration. The winter arc is not a passive retreat, it is a proactive cultivation of the self. It is about creating conditions that allow the internal work to manifest externally, shaping not only who we are in thought but who we are in action. It is also important to recognize that the winter arc is not a one-time event. Life presents repeated cycles of challenge, stagnation, growth, and renewal. Each winter, literal or metaphorical, offers a new opportunity for reflection and refinement. Those who ignore these periods risk stagnation, burnout, or an accumulation of unresolved psychological tension. Those who embrace them, however, emerge stronger, more integrated, and more resilient. Psychiatrists often observe that patients who commit to such reflective seasons develop a remarkable capacity for self-compassion, understanding that growth is neither linear nor immediate, but cumulative and iterative. To summarize, the winter arc is a multidimensional framework for self-mastery. First, it teaches us to pause, to observe, and to integrate our experiences. Second, it strengthens emotional regulation and cognitive resilience, providing the tools to navigate life's inevitable stresses. Third, it allows for deliberate habit reconstruction, leveraging neuroplasticity to cultivate behaviors that align with long-term goals. Fourth, it emphasizes self-reflection and identity alignment, bridging the gap between who we are and who we aspire to be. Finally, it converts insight into actionable strategies, creating a sustainable blueprint for living intentionally. In essence, the winter arc is not a season to endure but a season to embrace. It is an invitation to engage in disciplined introspection, to challenge oneself gently but persistently, and to emerge transformed. The ultimate mastery of self is not achieved through fleeting bursts of willpower or dramatic life changes. It is achieved through sustained, deliberate engagement with one's inner world, through the cultivation of resilience, mindfulness, and intentionality. Winter, then, becomes not a period of limitation but a laboratory of potential, where the seeds of growth are sown quietly, invisibly, and powerfully. As we conclude, I urge you to consider the metaphorical winters in your own life, not as obstacles to be feared, but as opportunities for profound personal transformation. Embrace these periods with curiosity, patience, and intentionality. Observe your thoughts and emotions without judgment, reconstruct habits that serve your higher goals, and align your daily actions with your core values. By doing so, you will not merely survive the winter, you will master it. You will emerge not just as a person who has endured a season, but as one who has transformed through it, carrying forward a blueprint for self-mastery that will serve you through every season that follows. Thank you.